Welcome to Music Ed Tech Talk, a show about music, education, and technology. I'm your host, Robby Burns. All right. We're doing it. We're doing the show. Theresa, you're back. Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for coming. I am so glad you're here. It's been a while. There's segments, as we were just talking about before I started more officially there. So I just want to thank supporters of the Patreon page. New supporter Drew Ross supports the show. Yeah,
I know Drew Ross.
Drew. Yeah,
he's a pretty cool guy.
And pretty cool. And we've been hanging out in the Music Ed Tech Talk Discord, just like chatting about fun nerd stuff, like what we use Siri shortcuts and AI language models for. That's like actually, like what are the actual applicable things you can automate in the classroom that are not just like nice ideas but with no practical purpose. So we're just getting into it over there, and we're happy to have people engaging in the Discord.
Awesome.
So patreon.com/musicedtechtalk. I've been enjoying doing some news up at front, some things. I'd like to say if there's any like blog posts I have recently that are good, but I haven't been blogging a ton lately. You have, though.
Not a ton, but I have one. So but your blogs are substantial. So well, I don't know. So yeah, I did write a blog post recently. It actually came from a Women Band Directors International. I write for them, their tech stuff. So this is just about COPPA and FERPA and the fact that as music teachers, it's our job to know the terms of service and how we're keeping our students safe when we use technology in the classroom. And that was the gist of it, because I feel like we don't always remember that. We just see a new shiny tool and go, yay, let's use it with kids, before we look into the details.
Yeah. And maybe you can tell me if you get into this there, because I'm pretty sure I read the first paragraph, and then I will admit to you that I clipped it and I read it
That's
later.
Fine.
It was like, this seems like it's worth getting into more later. This is something that like, so like our district is using, we use Clever. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny how, Clever is a protocol that basically is one of many ways you can do like single sign-on in an institution. But what's really funny is that it's like not really like a word or a brand that any kid or like member of our district should know, but it's in our little like area where you go to kind of get to everything as a student. There's like Clever apps, and it's just like not a thing that any kid ever clicks, but it's basically like, here's all the county approved stuff that we actually pay for that you can get to. But there's some stuff that we can use with discretion, and we just look to our music leadership to kind of help us work with what that is. But like, I'll say, for example, like one of our single sign-on services is like we have some of the Google stuff for our students. Mm-hmm. And so something that we have learned, and I know there's a lot of music software out there that has varying tiers of like how much you pay for it or don't. When we have a fully county approved application that takes advantage of I can't believe I'm saying this in the first 5 minutes of the show, the LTI API. Yes. There's like a very specific way that integrates with learning management software, where it's sort of like the kid, you create a link and then a kid clicks it and sort of bounces them over to some third-party app. But a Canvas, the learning management, or rather like our school's infrastructure, is sort of providing that student data, but they don't necessarily have it. It's just that if it says like, hello, welcome, Steven, like the app doesn't necessarily have that data. It's just like using that from... We've like funneled it to show up in their user interface of their app, like if it's Soundtrap or something. When a kid, since we have Google Apps, a lot of software allows you to sign in with Google. Yeah. So what are some weeds, or do we not want to get all the way into the weeds? But like, what are some gray areas that you have run into when researching this topic about like when a teacher can or cannot allow? Like if Google is the approved tool, when a kid can or cannot use sign-in with Google and a third party.
The biggest thing I would say is read the terms of service and see what it says, and it will very clearly say if it's meant for kids under 13, and that's usually the thing you can just look for. Look for like 13 years old. If you find that somewhere in there, and it says that whatever the tool is not meant for kids under 13, that means that they will potentially collect information. And it's not that I always say this, like BandLab, unfortunately, is a good example. BandLab is not purposely doing naughty things with kids' info, right? They're not purposely, but the fact is they do collect some what they call personal identifying information. And because of that, it's not approved for kids under 13. So you've got to just look at the terms of service.
Yeah. So there's not a distinct or clear answer. I guess what I was looking for is not so much like tell people what they should do as much as just like, is there like, do you understand technically what is happening when Google sign on is the thing that, like if I go to BandLab, for example, and I don't know if BandLab has a sign in with Google, but if I have like, let's say there is one though, like an I choose sign in with Google, does Google have stuff in place with how that protocol works? That is basically saying like, hey, this data is like, because I know it tells you on that little screen, like, here's the data that we are and are not looking at.
You know, that's a good question. I don't exactly know the answer to it. So
it seems like I need to send an email to my IT department to get
more clarification.
My clarity for specifically my district, and I will not comment on anyone else listening to this show.
Right.
Because I don't know your situation.
But, you know, the easy thing is if it requires students to create an account, in which case if you're signing in with Google, it probably does. You just have to do your homework first.
Right.
So
I would think Google is the account, I guess is the thing.
Exactly.
But again, that's the question
that
I'm
becomes
wondering
the
is
account.
like what exactly is.
Yeah. Because there's just, and it's not that any of these companies are intentionally stealing student data. It's just the way that they use it is currently not, does not comply with laws.
Right. Understood. Cool. All right. So everybody should check out that post. I've been meaning to write up a post. Maybe I'll do a blog one of these days. Write on my blog. Affinity apps are now Affinity app. I forget when it is that Canva bought them, but Affinity apps are the ones that were like the Adobe Creative Cloud competitors. Like they had an app, a single purchase app for that was like a competitor to Photoshop, to Illustrator, and to Publisher. And these were called Affinity Photo, Affinity Design, Design, and Affinity Publish, respectively. And they were all like a $50 purchase that you just pay once and you then keep. And they're extremely powerful pro apps. And a lot of people, I think, would appreciate that they're not subscriptions like Adobe.
Yeah.
Well, Canva bought them a while back and made them free for educators, and then I think made them free for everybody. And now they've finally unveiled, we've been kind of cooking on this with this team, with this, this company we bought, and now we have one brand new app we would like to unveil. It's just called Affinity, and it does the Publisher, the Illustrator, and the photo stuff all in the same app. It has different modes that you kind of toggle between. And it's kind of like Canva's entry into here's like the, professional end of like if you enjoy what we have or don't, here's a professional tool that professionals can use to make really nice looking stuff. And obviously it's free. People have a lot of feelings about free. I mean, free does not always necessarily mean good things for the software that you might like or depend on. It could easily get worse in the future, or they could charge a subscription for it. But as it stands today, I've only just poked around quite a little bit. It seems to work pretty well with previous files I had created in their other apps. I don't like the icon, but the design of the app is otherwise pretty decent to get around, and it has some integrations with Canva. You can like bring a thing into Canva pretty easily, which is nice.
So what would you use this for if you also use Canva?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think it's going to for sure give you some of the things that a professional app would be known for. So it's going to have, like when I use Canva, like Canva has some of the limitations of web software. Like things are just not super smooth and responsive. It does not have as many power features. I don't have as much customization or control. And for me personally, I just feel comfortable with the Affinity interface, with like how tools are laid out and like what kinds of things these apps typically are known for. Like there are standards and conventions. I mean, Affinity Photo was pretty familiar to me as someone who had done a lot of dabbling in Photoshop before using it. It shares a lot of the same paradigms and language. So, I mean, I think, this is really meant more to compete with that stuff. I would say like if a teacher is finding that they're running into limitations with what Canva can offer, then this is what I would jump to. It's great. Like I would say like some good examples of ideas you would want to do, like making posters for concerts, making concert programs. These are all things you can do in Canva, in fact, pretty well. But if you're looking for a little bit more customization and control, I also like having files on my computer. I know that makes me seem like an old guy these days, but like having just like all my stuff just sort of floating in Canva's website is not my preference. Like I want to put my concert program in the same folder as like other stuff I might be working on for a concert.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. I don't know what they're going to do with this stuff, but I think it's nice. And Canva, it's, if people are using Canva and want more, then this is available to them for free, which is awesome.
Yeah, free is always nice.
Yeah, always nice. So this brings me to, because I know Canva's got some AI stuff baked into it, but we've got and we can talk about that if you want. But I have a new segment. It's called What's New in AI. There's just so much going on.
That changes every day. Yeah.
Right. And then this is sort of bleeding into my other news segment since you've last been on, which is Automation Station. And these are often very blurred together. Yeah. So, I mean, can I just like read these headlines and then maybe we'll end on the NAfME thing, since I know you have probably more to say about that. So just a couple things that have come out over the past week or two. So in an earnings call recently, Tim Cook said that Apple is on track to deliver next generation Siri in 2026. And this is like, if anyone has not been following this is like, to me, is like the AI dream. This is the idea, like it seems almost impossible that they would be able to deliver this, but this would be like a Siri that's conversational, but that is context aware of your data across all of your apps on your device and can perform actions across apps based on the same technology that is in the Siri Shortcuts app. So like I always like to use my calorie tracking app as the template example of how everything works. So if ChatGPT has a shortcut action and like Food Noms has a shortcut action that they've donated to the operating system to where I can like string them together in a shortcut. Well, now that same framework could be the basis of me telling Siri to do stuff in my apps. Like go into the Photos app, grab my recent 3 favorites and text them to my mom. I could just apparently say that to Siri and it would just do that action across several apps. Or like ask ChatGPT how many calories are in a burrito from Chipotle and log it in Food Noms. Like this would be
wow. Tell
me about my what repertoire I played on my last 3 years of wind ensemble concerts, and then suggest to me three selections I've never done before from my library. That's all data that my devices know. Yeah. Oh. But they can't meaningfully talk to each other yet. And so Apple is like, we're going to deliver this, but in our conversational voice assistant that you've known. I don't know if they'll pull it off, but they say 2026.
Wow. Okay. Well.
And then the rumor, this is a rumor, not a thing they've said, but a rumor is that they're going to be using Gemini as the model to power part of this experience. So not like Gemini itself, but like Google is going to license them their model to put on their own private cloud compute so that like it's not sharing any data necessarily with Google. So it's all heating up in big tech land. I mean, I use this stuff to do a lot of my work. So these are things I would absolutely use in my professional life every day if this dream were to come true.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to think about it, but that sounds interesting.
It's fine. Well, related to this is there was an app. So speaking of shortcuts, Apple bought that app was an app called Workflow like 7 or 8 years ago that Apple bought and then kind of turned it into the shortcuts experience on all their platforms. Well, some of the people who worked on that project started a new project called Sky that was unveiled over the summer. And this is like basically what kind of it seems like Apple is trying to do. What it is it's ChatGPT in the back end, but then you have a little conversational interface on your Mac. It's a Mac app that's in beta. And the idea is that you talk to it like ChatGPT, and it uses ChatGPT to understand what you want to do, but then it hooks up to all your apps. So you could say, like, tell me when my next 5 concerts are, and then make me an Apple Note that, like, lists them all for publishing on, like, my school's Canvas page or something. And then it's, like, actually able to understand the bits and pieces of, like, how to integrate with the apps. But ChatGPT is the sauce, kind of like. So anyway, OpenAI bought this company. Wow. So now I don't know if that means like that they're going to pump all that stuff into the Mac app, the ChatGPT Mac app, or if they just are going to let it release it to the public as is, or if they just want that team. I don't know. It should be interesting. This is we're getting to like the where is this stuff, because like a lot of this stuff for me is like not that useful, but this is how I picture it being much more useful.
Yeah, but will they be able to pull it off is the question.
I was thinking about this again today because this is not. I think that this group of developers, this Sky app, looked really compelling because I think that they've proven to be able to work, like do very, very smart things with they break some of the rules of the technology that their software runs on in order to be like real clever and creative with like what it can do. But they also like really know and respect the operating systems that they've written their apps for. That's why they kind of know how to be clever. So as far as like Apple making a good Siri, I think what's more likely is they'll make a promising one that's really fiddly and unreliable that will gradually get better over the next 10 years. And then it'll be like Apple Maps in 10 years. Like it's fine, but it's not the best one.
Right. It'll get the job done, but yeah.
I guess that's the best I can hope for.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then we've got people releasing guidance for music educators. We've got Yamaha has an AI in the music classroom that they put out recently. And then NAfME, I talked on the last episode with David McDonald about their guiding principles, frameworks, and applications for AI in the music classroom. You have some thoughts on this document.
I do. Yeah, and
Okay.
I've actually had a couple of the different classes I read. I've had the students read it as well, just to pre-service and in-service teachers thinking about it. I guess I think it's good they did something, right? Let's look at the positives. It's good that they're acknowledging, and I think they pulled together a good team to do so. I just felt like there was one thing that was really missing from the guidance, and that's like the role of the teacher. Sure, you can use it in these various capacities, but you have to have your professional input there. And I don't think that was emphasized enough throughout the document. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think emphasis is an important way to put it, I guess, because that idea was definitely presented in there, but like what you emphasize, the whole idea of AI, like as this like buzzy word, is just a matter of emphasis. We've had AI for a long time, and then language models took off, and then like ChatGPT took off, and then the bots, the little like chat apps took off, and so now that like that's the pervasive idea of what AI is to so many people who don't follow technology. So I think what happens is like now a lot of everything is just being called AI that was previously not called AI, or things that were AI are now the companies are leaning into how the AI that already was the AI in order to make you recognize that they're also, look, we are too. Like we have stem separation in our audio app. Well, it's like, we've been able to do that for such a long time. Apple had it in Logic for a while. It's called machine learning until ChatGPT came around. Now it's AI. Right. So like by like emphasizing this emerging trend, I think anyone who's reading this document is probably aware of what kind of AI it is a response to. And it's like the kind of stuff that can generate content. Mm-hmm. It's things that generate images and text, the kinds of things you worry about your students using to do your assignments. And so I think the fact that so many different kinds of tools are in that document, but maybe not like the considerations of them being like differentiated in that way is important. Like I think something that can EQ your track in a digital audio workstation and something that can write the lyrics to a song are to have like very different considerations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and then something that can write your lesson plans. And that's the part that I was really like, it was talking about lesson generation and idea generation, and that's great, but you have to have your professional knowledge in there. You can't just like, oh, this AI says do this, great. ChatGPT says I should do this. Okay, let's do it. It didn't talk enough about how much the teacher has to put their thought and think about their students and their situation and all of that when they're using this as a potential planning tool or anything that has to do with the actual kids.
The way, and I don't want this criticism to come across the wrong way to people who maybe don't take this the wrong way, I guess. Yeah. But if you're listening and this resonates with you, but like the way that I have seen AI talked about in some circles is like you would almost think that like teachers don't want to be involved in the writing of their lessons, and to me that's like the most important thing that we do. It's also like the engaging and creative part of it, like how to troubleshoot that and how to solve these kinds of problems. Like for me, my plan, and I mean I don't mean like a beautifully formatted lesson plan that you would show to an administrator. I'm just saying like being responsive to what the needs of your students are and having an objective and like having an idea how you want to get there. Like that's not something I would hand off to a computer.
No, and it's
but it seems to be a celebrated use of the tools. So, and that's a little bit perplexing to me.
Because
it sounds like
that's
you also.
our professional responsibility. You know, we want to be treated like professionals. That is our responsibility. As soon as we start handing that off to a computer, it worries me.
So one way that it really has stuck to me is some of my team has been experimenting with the idea of like, okay, how do we like give written feedback to kids? And is there a type of, this is the question that I think a lot of people find interesting about these tools. Like, is there a way to have this somehow like do boilerplate stuff that is really difficult to repeat if you're time constrained or energy constrained? Things like okay, so like every kid tried their best, and if I'm doing like 60 performance assessment videos, like how does it feel for me mentally to like type, I can see that you're doing such great work here, keep, all that stuff. So the question that has been posed is like, can you, because I've seen one of my colleagues train on the Fred Rogers principles of like how to give effective, how to speak kindly to others, has given it that a document of some of those principles, and it said, okay, whatever I type in here musically, make this a Fred Rogers type of, so the intonation was horrendous. And then, it'll be like, okay, great job so far with what you've done. It'll like reword it and be very encouraging and all this stuff. So I find this to be like an interesting thing. So of course I'm poking around in there. I'm just seeing like, what can I do with this idea? Like, can I get this thing to take a 3-half sentence piece of musical feedback that's true, but maybe like a little bit abrasive, and then make that legible to a struggling 12-year-old clarinetist. And, it so quickly starts to make stuff up that I'm like,
oh yeah,
like vocabulary, like stuff it has no role doing. So like I think I used the word like to describe the tone of a player as like forced, and I think it was like, oh, that's a negative word, so we have to clean that up. So it made up another vocabulary word that was like not a word that a musician would use to describe a sound, even though my word was like kind of like colloquial. It made up a totally other word, like different word that like, because I would use the word forced in a music circle or to describe the sound that I make if I'm holding my mallets too tight. Right. But it saw that as like my language wasn't professional, so it had to like clean that up, but by making up words.
Yeah. Well, because it's not a musician. It's not you. It doesn't know your students. All of those things. We're talking about something that's using an algorithm to write. So yeah, we can't expect it to be perfect. Yeah. But that's, again, comes back to that professional responsibility. Hopefully you didn't just copy and paste whatever it said.
Right. So, and I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, having it, like, look at grammar or, like, formatting or stuff. Like, that's a thing that I have used these tools for. And then I go back and I read it and I'm like, okay, you, like, fixed 3 things. That's fine. Like, I'm happy with it. I'd rather this just be sort of baked into my operating system, like just underline stuff, for me, kind of like spell check. But so I mean, like in your class where these are like recommended readings, are there useful tools or practices that do come up?
It's interesting with the undergraduate students. They are excited about the music stuff, like the stem separation, and even a little bit like the tools that will generate music, more as like a toy is not the right word, but just something to play with, right? However, they're very, very nervous about their teachers or the professors saying that they used AI when they didn't use it. They're very nervous about like being accused of using AI for their assignments when they didn't actually do it. And they think that everybody is using AI detectors, and that they're just worried. That really made me laugh. I was like, that's what you're worried about? You're worried about being falsely accused of using AI? But that's where their minds go when they read things like that.
I don't know what the general temperature is out there, but I presented one of my digital organization sessions for a group of undergraduate music teachers recently, and I got towards the end, and I said, this is the part where things can be like nerdier a little bit, like we can talk about automation apps. I don't have a huge section about AI in here, but we can talk about it if you want. And they all audibly groaned and said, gross, boo, AI. And I found that a little bit heartening. Gave me hope.
Yeah.
For the, They clearly, see with the problems.
Yeah. But that being said, I've still received a fair amount of assignments that I'm like, pretty sure you didn't write this. So even though they groan and they have the worries, some of them are still using it.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I mean, you can see the usage data isn't it like it's like basically plummets in the summer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
The numbers don't lie. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've already kind of brushed up on the idea of automating things with AI. I don't know that we're quite all the way there yet. There have been some small automation wins I've had with some of the generative tools. But one thing that I can tell you around this time of year that I am doing is working with concert templates in my task lists. Have you ever? How do you manage your tasks? You're being in the environment you're in right now, with research and like teaching.
Yeah. So
what do you?
These
how
days
do you hold it together?
These days I'm using Things 3. That was a youth suggestion, probably 2 years ago at this point, and it's doing what I need it to do. So that's my task manager, and I love that I have separate projects for different areas of life, and then I have certain things that are project templates that work really well. So, yeah. That's
great. Yeah, I'm in the process now of moving my concert planning template from OmniFocus over to the Things. Since several years back, I switched to do apps, and I think I'm going to end up doing it in the Shortcuts app. But basically what I have is a bunch of lists in a note that are like how many it's in a specific syntax specific to OmniFocus, which is what I need to edit. But basically it's like, here's how many days before a concert or before a field trip or before this that everything needs to happen. And then what I would do there is I would give it the due date, like the concert date, and then it would actually add everything to my task list with the appropriate relative due days in advance. So like packing the tubas into my car wouldn't show up until 3 p.m. the day of the concert. So that's what I'm working on now. Now, of course, by me reviewing it at least and like moving it over to Things has made me like be a little bit reflective of how, are we efficient with our concert planning, which has been helpful.
You said how, you could put the concert date in and the other things would kind of auto-populate backwards from that. I have not been able to make that happen yet in Things. Have you?
Yeah, so you can do it in a shortcut. So what you would do is Things has robust support for the Shortcuts app. Yeah, and so you would basically have a step in the shortcut that asks you for a date, and then it shows up a little date picker. And then you would have a Things action in the Shortcuts app that would create a task, and the due date of the task would be, then you would do a little bit of date math, and there you'd be basically, you create a variable from the date that you provided at the beginning of the shortcut, and then you would just do like minus whatever number of days.
Okay.
For each
Very
step.
Cool. That'll be that's the next task for me then, is to set up those shortcuts, because that'll be really cool.
Yeah. I think what you could do if you really wanted to, this isn't my style, but you could just make the list in Things, like make a project and then have all the tasks in there and then just copy and paste it. I know that's something that some people like to do.
Copy and paste what?
I like the idea of it triggering. like the entire, like all of it basically, or I guess maybe what some people would prefer to do is just uncheck all the tasks every time they have a concert. That doesn't get you all the dates lined up though. That's a lot of like fiddling with due dates and deadlines and stuff if you want to do it that way.
Yeah, I think so. And again, for me, I just have a template that I just duplicate the template for every time I need to repeat that project. And then at the moment I go through and most of it's like 3 or 4 days that the due dates will be. So it's been pretty easy to just go ahead and, select a bunch of them, make it due Monday or whatever. But it would be really cool if it was able to figure that all out on its own.
It would be good. Yeah. I'm like a little curious if they're going to do like, that company is really quiet, but they're, that app the version 3 is from like 2017, and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in the task app world since 2017. So,
okay.
I mean, gosh, it doesn't support image attachment. Or the collaborative tasks, or what's the other big thing I really want? Handling of repeat tasks is a big one. I would like them to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. But I feel like I've kind of moved through a couple different ones. I think I started with like Remember the Milk, and then I went to Todoist, and now I'm at Things. I feel like each one I've gotten progressively, it's, a little bit more in depth. So I've been happy, and I like that. Yeah. And I have it on, my phone and my computer. So it's been good.
Yeah, that's a good setup. Yeah, that's one thing too, is like they make you buy it separately on everything, which is it's a nice app, so I don't care. I don't mind paying them, but it's like,
No.
I'll tell you in a minute. I'll give a sneak peek to a later topic. There is a particular platform that is an Apple platform that I recently now use that I didn't use, where Things actually does have an app, and it was actually a separate purchase inside of that app, despite me being probably one of like, I don't want to make up numbers, but I assume like 100 people have bought this app on this platform. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's like thousands. Who could even know? Yes, we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
I have an Ask METT question that, if it's okay with you for me to move on to that here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this one has been it's been hanging around for several episodes, and I just keep bumping it, and I specifically reserved it for you. Because this is, it's an existential one, and this lines up to so much as what you've done with Pass the Baton and lots of your research, and also, there's just all sorts of reasons I thought it would be interesting to have you go at this here. So this is from friend of the show, Kate Bateman, who, by the way, speaking of blogs, I did a desk feature, a What's on Your Desk feature on my blog of her desk, because Kate is one of the people in my life who does things with intention and purpose, and like just believes in having everything set up just the right way to get the most work done. And so I was like, and her desk is beautiful. So I was like, you got to take some good photos of that desk and then write it up for my blog. And she did. So I'll put a link to Kate's desk in there. But anyway, she asked this question: how do you manage teaching creativity and having opinions about music in a world where kids often won't concentrate on anything longer for than a minute? And to clarify her wording here, I think she's saying she wants to teach kids to both be creative and them to have opinions about music, to form their own response to music. How do you teach that in today's world?
Yeah, that's a big one. I guess my first thought when I read her question, though, is that like they will concentrate on things for more than a minute. It's just a matter of figuring out what those things are and getting them in the classroom, right? I mean, and you're truly in the middle school classroom right now, so you can really speak to it. But like they will. It's just you've got to find the right hook. You've got to find the right thing that's going to hook them in. And I think that also means sometimes just being okay with things getting messy, which a lot of us often aren't. We don't like chaos, even if it is controlled chaos, but kind of letting them go a little bit, to see where they take it. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I do agree that kids will focus on something for longer than a minute. It just depends on what it is. I guess there's different ways to engage kids, and I'm learning, like, and sometimes all of the ways I experiment with, like, I do have some minor, like, focus and behavioral issues in a couple of my classes, and sometimes we really have to kind of, like, I do like a breakdown for them of, like, what they're experiencing and what their perspective is and what mine is and the impact it has on the team. And then sometimes I do hit a limit, and I would not consider myself to be like an old school yelly type, but sometimes I'll, like, ask for what the expectation is that I have in a really direct, loud way that I think scares them. And then it's a reminder to me. It's like, oh, we actually do know the kind of posture that I expect from you when I yell, but do I want to yell? Do you want me to yell? And they're like, no. I'm just like, okay, so, like, if we're like mishandling, like, the percussion equipment, or if, like, a certain type of, like, emotional affect needs to be put out into the atmosphere in order to get you to come to it, then ask yourself, like, now, I guess, like, what do you, I guess there's stuff that I bring and there's stuff that they bring. And that's the challenge, is, like, I don't actually really have a whole lot of control over what they bring, but I can respond to it, and I can create an environment where it's the best. And sometimes that means creating lots of infrastructure so that what I'm expecting from them is, like, I'm doing so much to prepare that what they're doing is, like, this really tiny little lift. So, like, they're only really focused on, like, what is just the next possible thing they need to do to improve. Yeah. And then other times I'm trying to leave more space for them to have to, like, reach and become more independent for that. And it is messy. I don't even know that I have the same answer every day I wake up in the morning. Like, there's a lot of experimenting happening. And I think one of my colleagues says you need to have, how many days are in a school year?
180.
150 something. He's like, I mean, like, every whatever concept you want to teach a middle schooler, you have to have that many ways of presenting that concept to them.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think you have a good point that we have no control over what they bring in the door, right? We only control the environment. We control ourselves, how we react to it, and all of that stuff. I guess what I'm looking at her question, you know, that how do you manage teaching creativity? So I guess I think of that as, like, wanting kids to be creative and do things creatively. And for some of that's also out of my control. It's going to have to be something that I'm not, like, tightly controlling every parameter of it, if that makes sense. Whereas if we're talking, like, how do you manage running an effective band rehearsal? Those are going to be slightly different.
Sure. And I think I'm just going to be, like, rather than being constructive for a second, I'm just going to be doing therapy with you and say that one of the things that I find like exciting and spontaneous and also sometimes a little bit depressing about teaching other people is that, like, sometimes I don't even really feel like I have any control over how much they engage with what it is I put out there. Like, there are going to be kids who I could be, like, the meanest, the most boring person in the world, but something about the content of my class is just every single day. I mean, I've had these kids. I've had kids in my classes before that I really didn't feel like I connected with, who I get these lovely, like, 2-page letters from at the end of the year. Like, music was my favorite class, and I learned so much, and things about myself I never knew. And I'm like, you said 3 words to me the whole school year. And then meanwhile, there might be some kid you're really trying to reach who just never returns anything. And that's part of the job.
Mm-hmm. And we can't control it. You know, something that I heard in a podcast recently, one of the authors I really like, his name is Dan Pink. He wrote Drive, if you've ever read that one. But he was just talking about motivation. And, you know, he was saying that the biggest thing that he's come to realize since writing that book is that you cannot motivate someone else. You can't do it.
Right.
Like, so we sit here and go, well, how do we motivate the kids? You can't. We cannot. The only thing we can try to do is help create that environment where they feel motivated. And that just has stuck with me since then. And I wonder if it's similar, you know, to Kate's question.
I've been really running into that same conclusion myself, but also I know that there are things that motivate me. So that's what I'm kind of coming back to is like, I won't let this go. Like, I know you're right, but I also think like there have not been people who like they motivated me, but there have been people who I was at the right time and place in my life and they communicated to me something. They sort of put something in front of me, like an idea, or like told me to look at something or appreciate something, or even just they demonstrated their own appreciation or curiosity for something in a way that I saw their perspective on it and then wanted to myself ask the same questions that they were asking about it, just at the suggestion of like, I remember having some great percussion teachers in college, like just, like we would just listen to like 10 different recordings of the same Brahms symphony from like American orchestras in the 1940s through 60s. And they would just ask me questions about like what I heard in the timbre of like the different players of the timpani, and would call my attention to certain things that I had not listened to before or heard before. And then just myself getting like inspired and curious about that. But I don't know, that seems so much like there's like different ingredients to the recipe there. Like I was in a specific place that I wasn't always, and then they were like in my life at that time, but I don't know that like they could have just replicated that for anyone and had the same results.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. It was all the different pieces that came together. And then, the other thing that I try to remind undergraduate students of is like, in a way, we, as the people who are the music teachers now, when you look back at a program, we're the oddballs, right? We're the 3% that went into music. And then the other 97% of our students don't end up going into music professionally. So they they won't have those same things that will motivate them as what motivated us.
Yeah, so that brings up another existential question is like, because there's lots of reasons that music is for kids. What are some, obviously like such a small percentage has music be like a humongous part of their life that they're like playing all the time or even doing it professionally, like after they leave the school system. So like, what are the other types of what music is for kids?
Yeah, that's what I think we have to ask ourselves as music teachers, right? Like, what is it for? Why are they in the class? I think middle school, a lot of it's social, right? I think, and I think we learned that especially during the pandemic because kids wanted to make music with their friends. There is something about it that they like, but it's just how do we tap into whatever it is that follows them outside the classroom as well? Right. So for you, it was listening to that really cool percussion stuff. But how do we figure out what it is for them? And that's also hard for us as music teachers, I think, because we got into this because of the stuff that was really impactful to us. So now, but that might not be impactful to our students. So how do we grapple with that? Like, if I really love concert band literature, but that's not what the students in the room are into, how do I find that? And then this whole purpose of the podcast, technology, right? That could be an in for some kids, not all kids, but some.
Yeah. Well, you're right that social is a big one for middle school. Something that has been really a big, and actually this is a seasonal topic here because like we have our solo ensemble festival in our district coming up in a couple of months. And this is the time where students start to think about rep. And we really try to energize our community around attending this event. And one thing that we've noticed is like, it doesn't matter how well they play or like what music we put in front of them that's like really appropriate for them. They just want to play with their friends. And my colleague got real smart one year and she bought all these like accent on ensemble books, book 1 and book 2, that are for most of our program, like it's so insanely easy that it would be like, you would think it would be a joke to put it in front of them. But any instrument can play with any other instrument, the way that the books are laid out. So like some flute player, a clarinet friend, and a trombone friend will be like, sure, I'll play something I played like in the 6th grade, even though I'm an 8th grader in the wind ensemble. And then they go and they have the best time. And
yeah, that's awesome.
They'll come in. The most I see them practice their instrument ever is playing that. They come in during lunch to be with their friends and play that. And then kids who would never respond to me at all, I'll hear them like releasing notes with a clean sound and like breathing together and like repping the same short phrase over and over and over again to get it just right. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because the social is a big piece of it, right? They don't want to let their friends down. They want to be part of the group. Yeah. So like all of that stuff that you taught them that was just kind of floating in the back of their heads, they weren't really like, it comes out, it made a difference.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool.
Okay, well, Kate, hopefully we've addressed that adequately for you. You can certainly throw back another one sometime soon. So what's up with you these days? This is the main thing I wanted to get to. You're, over the past years since we last spoke, I mean, you're a student, you're a teacher, you're getting your doctorate, you have a new job. That's just, you put that in there. Tell me whatever and everything.
Well, I mean, I'm an East Coaster again. That's an exciting thing. Although, I'm sorry. I don't know how I feel about daylight savings. That's just...
Oh, I don't like it myself.
After almost 4 years without it. Oh, goodness, this week has been roller coaster. But anyways, yeah, so this summer I moved to North Carolina, and I'm now teaching at East Carolina University. I teach music education, and it's awesome. I get to teach both undergraduate and graduate level classes, and yeah, I'm having a blast. And then at the same time, just finishing up the dissertation through Arizona State, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I should have that done by the end of the school year and graduate in May. And then I'll be Dr. Hoover.
Yeah, amazing. So, like, I don't know, maybe you love all of your babies, and I mean like your classes, not your students necessarily. Of them though, like are there any things that you're teaching right now that just come to your mind when I ask you to think about like what is just a class you're really engaging with teaching right now, something you're like really passionate about talking about?
I mean, I'm having a blast with all of it, but one class that is in particular that I think is amazing because I've never heard of this anywhere else is I am team teaching an introduction to ensembles class. So these are undergraduates that are juniors, and it's myself as a band person, my colleague Tim Nowak, who's a string specialist, and my colleague Andrea Van Dusen, who's a choral specialist. And it's all three of us in the room with the students at the same time talking about like the basics of ensembles. And we talk about, here's what's the same, here's what's different, right? So what day is it? Yesterday during class, for example, each one of us taught for 20 minutes, and we basically taught how we would introduce a new piece of repertoire to a beginning ensemble. And then we kind of broke down, all right, here was the thought process. Then at the end, hey, here's what the similarities were. What did you notice that the differences were? Just so the students get some kind of idea of what these ensembles are when they go out into the world. And then in the spring, we'll divide it up. So they'll do a advanced choral class or advanced instrumental class. That's just been awesome. And like to have the opportunity to work with other, professionals is amazing.
That's so cool. Yeah. I bet it's awesome to get to like bounce a lot of ideas off each other.
And we meet every week it's supposed to be an hour. It's usually 2 hours, but for planning, we plan together, we debrief together, and it's just been really cool.
That's got to have good energy too. I mean, that's the thing that so many of your students, I'm guessing, like get into it for is that someone left a mark on them in a rehearsal, and they want to replicate that.
And some of it we're talking about, we're talking with them about how to do a beginning ensemble, and also reminding them that a beginning ensemble is so much different than your collegiate wind ensemble. You cannot go into sixth grade band with the same mentality that the conductor expects of you from wind ensemble. The whole, you learn your parts at home, we rehearse it here. Like that doesn't work with sixth grade. You have to think through every little thing. So it's been really fun. And we're at the point in the semester where the students are going to start teaching more than us, which is even better.
Awesome. That's so great. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So thrilling. Yeah. I mean, just so much going on. So you've had them read. Is this one of the classes where you've had them read about AI?
That one I didn't. No. So the AI one, I had the freshmen read it in the Introduction to Music Ed class. We're just kind of going through like almost a survey of various things going on in the world of music education. So they read it, and then I also teach a graduate level class called Music Technology in the Classroom. So And those are all in-service teachers who are working on a master's degree. So they all read it along with just some other AI stuff to see what was out there. That class is skeptical. They were not sure how they felt about AI, even after reading it and reading some other research articles that are out there. I think it's like a cautiously maybe wanting to dip their toes in, but not too sure yet.
Right. Yeah. It's it comes back to that like writing lesson plan thing, I think. Like what part of the labor are we supposed to be engaged? Is it meaningful as humans to be engaged with? And like, yeah, I mean, I think like there was a time where you probably had to click a lot more times inside of your digital audio workstation to make your song fade out. And the fact that GarageBand has one click to do it, and then you can slide the little dots around on the screen to tweak it a little, like that's, I don't feel like we are like really losing much there. I just feel like it's moving more. The tool is moving more. You know, it's about how much friction or resistance the tool creates. And we as musicians, as instrumental musicians, you know, myself, like having held lots of different drumsticks in my life and played on different saxophones with different amounts of resistance. Like I know that there's lots of different flavors of, like, none of them like make you the player, but they all offer different kinds of flavors of how much you're doing and how much the tool is doing. And I think we've like agreed, most people in most fields of study have agreed that there's like, the more you get good at something, there's kind of like a sweet spot of how much resistance a tool gives you to do your job. But there has to be some resistance and what that is and what computer software can, the unnecessary roadblocks that computer software can resolve. I remain pretty optimistic about computers doing those kinds of things. But I don't know, if my job is to think creatively about like how to teach a bunch of people to like connect an 8-measure phrase and make it sound emotional. Like, I don't know. I just like, what is Claude going to tell me about that?
Not a lot of good. So,
no.
Yeah, it's again, you need your professional input there.
Yeah. Super optional topic. I see you've added here, but we're of course. I'm never gonna not let the iPad and forScore and the Apple Pencil be an optional topic.
Can I give you the backstory for why this was on my mind this evening, like literally 2 hours before we started recording?
Okay.
So
all right.
I was just asked if I could fill in for a conductor for an all-county middle school band event, and it's in 10 days.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I was just having this moment of like, I haven't done an honors band kind of thing in a couple of years, just because I've been out in Arizona and whatnot. And I was like going through, okay, need to get the scores, need to do that. I'm like, is it time? Is now the moment that I am meant to be using these scores digitally? And then I was like thinking through it. I'm like, and do I also need to get an Apple Pencil so I can mark on my scores? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I've been debating all night if I want to. They're going to be bringing me paper scores this weekend. I also have my iPad sitting here with like forScore open in the App Store. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, I've introduced a little bit of paper back into my life over the past few years. I'm trying to show you. I'm currently, I've got like, I'm like a pen guy now.
Oh, yes.
I told you this.
I've heard it on the podcast. Absolutely.
Oh, great. Okay. Happy to know you've been. I'm just on, for those who cannot see in the video feed, I'm just showing off some mechanical pencils and pens. So like, I mean, I feel like if you're going to go so there's like a long-term and a short-term answer to it. I mean, I don't know if like switching to digital, well, you're very savvy. So I don't know, like switching to digital before this event is probably not going to be a huge lift, especially like I'm guessing this rep is probably
it's
not.
Grade 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like the perfect way for you to dip your toes in some digital scores. Because I think long term too, for me, the benefit of it is the fact that like not just this utility of like I'm in the act of performing or conducting, and I have the iPad as the sheet of paper. That's obviously huge, but it's like the library of it is also, it's like this humongous digital resource that I have, and a lot of times I'm just referencing the stuff that's in there. I'm not annotating it. I'm not conducting from it. It's just like become the place. Like I don't even put scores in my file system on my computer anymore. I just sync them in forScore over iCloud across my devices. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of become that kind of tool.
Well, and that,
I would say,
yeah, that library idea was also what was getting my mind turning. So, I'm teaching the other day, and I've got, just for various reasons. Oh, I know why. Because the piece I was conducting, or I was working with the students on, it was we had all e-print. So, I have this piece of 8.5 by 11 stapled in the corner score that I was like, this is just
right.
Like, wouldn't it be so nice if even just teaching these classes where I'm not conducting concerts, I'm not but I'm just working through rep. Would that be a
well, and then you can share the stuff really easily. I mean, as well, like I can, and in fact, even with your students, like I have some colleagues who AirPlay the iPad when they're conducting to the TV, and then they zoom in on stuff and annotate stuff, and they're like, look, saxophones, you have the same thing as the horns here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's almost, I sometimes will do some score work with a mechanical pencil and some paper if I just get really in the need for something tactile, but I always then come back to the digital now just because of that's where everything is. And I think that's kind of the benefit of having it, is it's where everything is. And the Apple Pencil is so responsive. I mean, this is a good timing of this topic. I just got a new iPad 2 weeks ago. And this is the longest an iPad has ever lasted in my life. I had the 2018 iPad Pro for about 6+ years. And so my new iPad is actually really similar. I mean, I just went for the new Pro with the same Magic Keyboard and the same Apple Pencil, although there's an Apple Pencil Pro now.
Of course.
And so it's funny, I brought it to work and I put it on my desk and I said, look, everyone, it's my new iPad. And they just looked at it and they're like, that's the same iPad. I'm like, well, you're right. It's not that same feeling that I used to get when they would redesign everything every 2 years. Yeah. But one thing I will say that's really nice about it is because it's obviously I mean, the iPad has a process, the M chip is ridiculous. It's so much more powerful than any software that an iPad can actually run. That's just insane. And so now the Apple Pencil is really responsive, and I sprung for the nano texture display, which is a matte screen. Now I'm really mad at Apple because they make you get the 1 terabyte model or higher to get the nano texture, which is not a thing I would recommend everyone do, but it looks really good in lit situations where typically there'd be a lot of glare. The Apple Pencil Pro is great. It has a pinch gesture. The nano texture also adds a little bit of texture. So writing on it is not only the software interprets the pencil more smoothly, but you feel more like you're scratching something against something else. It's just a really, really smooth feel. Now, I would not recommend that you get an iPad Pro. Actually, the iPad Air is now available in 13-inch.
So I have my Air, and I don't at the moment. Another iPad is not in the budget. That was going to be my next question, though. If I have, this is obviously not a 13-inch. I'm not 22 anymore. Am I going to be able to see my score on this thing without having a Pro?
So wait, I'm sorry. Oh, so that's the 11-inch
I think I have the
iPad
11-inch,
Air, is what you're saying.
Am I going to be able to see the
sorry,
score?
I understand your question, and I also read the sentence you added to the outline too fast, so I did not realize that I didn't need to just sell you and buy an iPad.
No,
right
I have
now.
the iPad.
I left that out.
It's just do I need forScore and do I need an Apple Pencil? And I know that need is a.
I mean, well, I think it depends on your eyesight. I think you're going to be able to read grade level 1-ish pieces on a screen that small pretty well. I mean, I certainly can. I actually a lot of times have forScore half the screen, and then I have GoodNotes the other half. So I'm already reading forScore in the same size as what an iPad 11-inch Air would depict it in portrait.
But that's
orientation.
You just bring up another really good point, though. If I'm where are my plans gonna be? Now I'm really thinking through this. Where?
So I'll have forScore on one half, GoodNotes with my seating chart on the other half, and then I'll do a window that slides in from the side, which will have my plan. And I usually do that in Craft. But you could do that in anything. That could just be in Microsoft Word for whatever you want to write it in. And the new iPad multitasking. Have you put that update on there yet?
I don't think so.
iPads now have full Mac style windowing with even with the 3 little circles in the upper left corner, the green, the yellow, and the red. And so you can do that, but then you can still if you resize 2 of them to occupy 2 halves of the screen, it adds a little pill in the middle where you can really easily change the ratio of how big each one is, and then you can add a little third one it's called a slide over app, and then you just kind of like take your finger from the edge and slide it in and out. That's how I do my lesson plan.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so this will be my next 10 days. Why not, right?
Yeah. Why not? I think so. You'll be able to get, if you get like 6 grade level 1-ish pieces in there, you'll have just the easiest time poking around in there with the Apple Pencil. It'll be great.
Okay, cool. I'm excited.
This is the move.
I'm super excited. First of all, I'm super excited to be conducting an all-county band. Like, yay. I have missed that so much in the last couple years, but yeah, it'll be fun.
It's going to be so much fun. We've mentioned forScore and we've mentioned Things by Cultured Code. I have recently been using both of those apps on a new operating system.
Oh.
Oh, yes. So this is going to be more content down the road for the show. I don't know who it's for because I don't think that anybody should be using one of these things, but I have come into possession of an Apple Vision Pro.
Nice.
It's right here. Here, let me hold it up. It's right here on my desk.
Ooh. Very nice.
And I have a very generous friend who does work inside of the product and with a team of people who develop an app for the product. And so she updated to the new one that just came out a week or two ago and is selling me this one for closer to the price that I think it's probably makes it a viable thing to buy, but still quite a lot. So it's like, I think these things are still like starting. If you buy them new, they're like $3,500 for like the lowest tier, absolutely not a thing anyone should own.
Right.
But it's been really interesting to be logged because I've done the in-store demo and I've played with hers before, but I'm actually like logged into my stuff and that completely changes my feelings on using the thing. And it takes away a lot of the wow factor and novelty and like really presents for me how is this actually useful. And it turns out that some of the wow factor of it actually is how it's useful.
Really?
Yeah. So like some of the stuff that's really gimmicky in the store, like you can make your whole entire field of view look like one of several environments. Like you can be at a lake or in a salt flat or whatever, or on the moon. And this makes for a great demo in an Apple store. But what I didn't realize is that you can actually mirror your Mac's screen inside of it. So you can be on the moon and then and the gestures and the hand motions, just spending more time with it in my own house has made me more comfortable with how to navigate it in a way that now it feels much more like I understand. So like you get to the app screen by just looking at the palm of your hand and then just a little dot appears above and then you just pinch and then you see your apps. And then you pinch and swipe to select them and then whatever one you want, you look at it and then you do a pinch gesture. And you can actually flip your hand over to get to Control Center, and then you can mirror your Mac's image to the thing. And what happens is, like, your lid of your Mac can be closed, but then you'll just get, like, this giant, like, 9-foot by 6-foot Mac display up in front of you, and you're on the moon. And speaking about, like, resistance and having the appropriate ones, there's actually is something, like, very focusing about having only the content you want to be thinking about and working on in your field of view. Like when there's nothing on my desk, when there's no, like paper scraps around or like specks of dirt on my carpet nearby. Like it's just a very different mode of work. So I found it to be really interesting for like, I've like done some grading of some performance assessments in there. I've done some emailing in there. I just make it like giant full screen. Like all I can see in my entire field of view is the email I'm typing.
And then what are you typing on? You have like an external keyboard that's hooked up to it?
So when you're doing this, whatever. So like I just have like this Mac keyboard that I use at my desk that pokes through the environment. So if I'm on the moon, it knows what an Apple keyboard looks like. So it's just like I can see that my fingers typing on it through the. But here's what's really crazy is the Vision Pro apps, you like move them around your environment, and they have these little like white lines underneath the windows. That if you look at that little white line and you pinch it, you can just move the windows of the apps all around you far away. And so what's crazy is you can like have, let's say I have like a little like things by cultured code window like to the left of my Mac display. I can be like using keyboard and mouse on my Mac. If I move the cursor with my mouse off to the left edge of the Mac Studio or the Mac display, it will move to the Vision Pro app, the Things app, and then I can just interact with the headset apps with the same keyboard and mouse.
Oh, that's wild. As
the Mac. It just all like seamlessly talks to everything else. The fidelity of it, like, when you're not on the moon, you're like looking through like real life. You can tell you're looking at a screen. Like, it's not like the sharpest imaginable image, but what they've done is they've made the frame rate of it. I don't know if that's the right technical term, but like it renders when you turn your head around, like what's in front of you so quickly that it does not create the same feeling of fatigue or dizziness or like nausea that some people associate with a headset. Like, it's just like really snappy. You almost, other than for the weight of it, it's a little heavy, but you almost forget that you're wearing it. You just feel kind of like you're looking through a blurry pair of spectacles.
That's so wild.
It's really, really wild. Yeah. And this is not even to mention like the entertainment aspect of it. I understand why people who have it say it's the best TV they own. Like, you can make, it really has the same sensation as a movie theater. You can make the screen bigger than than the walls of your house. And then with AirPods in, with noise canceling on, you just get like a very intense, overwhelming kind of theater experience with like every sense sort of being overtaken with it. So I've been very slowly, having kids, it's hard to watch movies, but I've been watching Batman, the one with Robert Patterson from a couple years ago.
And it's a cool experience.
It's very, very cool. Yeah. I'm like quite overwhelmed by it. I can have the forScore Vision Pro app, like just you can pin stuff to your walls of your house. So like, I just have it like pinned to the wall here. I have a piano. Oh, you can actually kind of see it I can just have like my music library just pinned there permanently, which is kind of wild. And it's got like widgets. You can have like a little clock. You can pin a little clock to your wall or a little weather widget, and things remember their position. So if I leave the room with it on and then come back, everything is still there.
You can just keep the clock right here, right there on the wall, and that's where it stays. That's so cool.
Yeah, the clock will just always be there.
I guess I have not thought of this device as other than something for entertainment. It just hasn't crossed my mind that it would be something that you would use in a productive way like that.
And I think until there's more apps for it and a reason for people to really buy it, it's a little bit of a chicken egg. Like, I think if there are no apps, people won't buy it. But I also think people won't buy it because they can't get the cost of the hardware down low enough that.
Right. How do you justify? Yeah.
And they also, I think clearly, some of the big tech companies are also like making these like sunglasses that have headphone and AI features in them. Sunglasses you can talk to. And I think that's what Apple eventually wants to get down to. Because I can wearing like regular fashionable sunglasses and then having like little windows I can drag around like that, to me, I understand immediately that is a thing people would be compelled by.
Oh yeah.
So why they chose to start this journey by making a fully immersive pair of ski goggles, I don't really know.
They were probably, because that's what other people were doing, right? That's what we were seeing with the various like gaming headsets was that model.
Yeah, and Apple's famously not good at games, and that's what people buy these things for. Like these $300 Meta Quests, they sell. Yeah. People buy them. They have game stores. They have lots of active development for that stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I'm interested to hear like how this progresses for you and what, whether it sticks as a tool that you'll use productively or if it becomes something that's more of an entertainment or, how that works.
I'll definitely keep you posted, and I'm sure yap about it a lot on here. Yeah. When I first like had it in my possession, logged into my stuff, I was like, oh, I feel very different about this. Like it was, like I haven't been like excited, like emotional even about like a software operating system in a super long time. Like the idea of like what it could be. And I don't even necessarily know if this is it. Like, I don't know if this is the kind of thing that people will all one day use, or even if the more like sunglasses kind of form factor is the thing people will one day use. I just know that the technologies they've built to put in this device are important for the future. Like they will somehow, one way or another, will be using this kind of stuff. I just don't know how, but like looking at things and grabbing them is like, well, you're speaking of forScore. Like I remember the first time I ever, after using forScore, was using a paper score, and I tried to swipe it to turn the page, and then I caught myself like feeling really dumb. Like, why am I doing that? I was in this thing. I've spent only like maybe a couple of hours in this thing, and I was in the kitchen cooking last night after I was like poking around in the headset, and my phone was like 5 feet away from me, and I was cooking, and my hands were really messy, and I was following my wife. She was like coming home, so I was like watching her location in the Find My app, and the Find My app has one of those little white bars that you swipe up to see more information about the person you're looking. And I, from across the room, I swear to you, I stopped myself before my fingers touched each other. But I thought, what if I just looked at that little white line and then pitched it and then controlled my phone from across the room?
Yeah, that didn't happen, did it?
It didn't. That's how natural it is, though. Wow. You really quickly get used to like that this is how things are supposed to be worked with. Yeah. It's like, just look at them and touch them. It's.
But that's even like with my AirPods when, you know, I'm out walking the dog and it says, do you want to start an outdoor walk? And I just nod my head and it does. Like the little things like that. It's just, they are so natural. But then you realize that I may look like a psychopath just nodding my head vigorously as I'm walking my dog. But yeah. It works.
Yeah, it's great. My favorite thing is mine will now, if I'm like making my smoothie in the morning, I'll sometimes listen to podcasts, and it's like, I can tell it's like dialing in the noise canceling and turning up my podcast when the smoothie turns on, and I'm like, this is cool.
Well, yeah, when we turn onto the one main road that's got more cars, the music goes up, or the volume goes up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So wild.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So there you go. That's my bunch of hours using Vision Pro as a productive thing.
That's really cool. Well, I'm impressed to hear that it's got productivity features. So now, it is not in my budget, but it's kind of interesting just to follow it now.
Yeah. Well, I'll have more. Trust me, anyone listening, I will have more. And of course, reoccurring guest Will, has one and has recorded his end of the audio on one before. On here. So what we're looking forward to doing, Will and I, is some planning work together in using the spatial persona, which is like it like renders an image of your face in 3D, and then because you can't do a FaceTime call because you're wearing you can't see your eyes because you're wearing the thing. So what it does is it like the cameras create a 3D representation of your face, and then that is what talks to other people.
So
in FaceTime, and mine is
it'll look like you're talking to Will, even though it'll be his 3D rendering.
Yeah, mine is real creepy because it doesn't handle beards very well yet. So I got to figure out how I'm going to fix that. But no, but the idea is cool. Like, I mean, you can have like some shared Apple Notes or web Safari tabs or like a shared whiteboard, and then your sense of space. My understanding from people who've explained it to me is that if I'm looking at some stuff and then I see his face, if he looks at something, it's going to look to me like he's looking at the thing he's actually looking at.
Okay.
In that 3D space.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. Keep us posted.
More to follow.
Yeah.
Great. Sure will. Can I tell you about some music I like?
Sure. Love music.
Do you ever like have an album or some music that just somehow like becomes a thing you listen to around a certain time of year for no good reason other than that you just have a good memory of doing it that way once, and then you keep okay. So I'm not insane. So this is like the season where for whatever reason I just listen to a lot of the new Tango by Gary Burton and Astor Piazzolla. It's a jazz tango record. It's them, and then it's got a piano, violin, and bass on it as well, and it is just about as good as music can be, if you ask me. It's one of my all-time top records that I love to listen to, and it's just the best of both of their worlds coming together in a way that sounds so good together that it's almost inevitable. It's like, of course, these two types of musicians and the sound of the vibraphone and the bandoneon blend together, but it's just like a really, really great record from start to finish.
That's awesome. Okay, I'll add it to my list. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm one of those weird humans, maybe not weird, but I don't have music playing a lot. I think I've discovered because I get so easily distracted. So my home is often very quiet and I need it that way. But when I do listen to music, I like to be intentional about it. And I was feeling nostalgic and missing my Phoenix friends. And one of the last concerts I went to when I was living in Phoenix was Saint Motel. Are you familiar with them?
In name mostly, not so much their sound.
Yeah. So that was one of the last concerts I went to when I was there with friends. And I was like, again, just kind of feeling like, oh, I miss my friends. So I, popped into Spotify and was like, oh, they have a new album. So that's been my thing for the last like week or so, has been listening to their new album, Afterglow. It's like, it's indie pop, the two main guys apparently were like film composers. So they've got some of that kind of sound to it, but it's fun to listen to. If like I put it on when I'm cooking or, cleaning or things like that, just to kind of give me something to listen to. So it's fun.
Yeah. I love that.
And I should say, I also very recently finally watched K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh,
so
yes.
There's that too.
Oh my. Yeah. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was cute. And the music's catchy. And now when I'm out and about and I hear the music, I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was definitely, little, just like, the problem with music for me is like, I'll get this tiny little snippet and it'll get stuck in my head and it just goes on loop and it doesn't stop. So that's what was happening with some of that music. It was just, yeah.
I do understand, actually. Yeah. Yeah, that's really hard for me to get those tracks out of my head. Well, and we have not watched that movie the insane amount of times that some of our neighbors and their children have, but we're big fans of the soundtrack over here.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it feels good to listen.
We had a party. We do movies on the side of our house this time of year, like almost every Saturday in October and November. We'll play a movie, and so that was a few weeks ago. We did that one on the side of the house, and it was kind of fun, actually. All the kids were like singing along real loud.
See, I love that.
It was like, it's like 7:30 p.m. Probably past a lot of kids' bedtime, but they're just going nuts, drinking hot chocolate, eating popcorn.
But that's perfect. I think it's awesome when you just hear people singing, and I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, where can people find more about you and all of your many projects and work? Where are all the places you are?
All the places. Well, I'm struggling to be any of the places right now because life is busy. But I'm on Instagram. It's at Musical Theresa. That's an easy place to find me. My personal blog that is updated very infrequently is offthebeatenpathinmusic.com. You could find me there. And then you can also find me with Pass the Baton stuff. And that website is passthebatonbook.com. And for Pass the Baton, we've actually just... despite all of the craziness, we have managed to keep up with the podcast. You ready for this one? We just hit episode 100. Yeah. Wow. So I don't know how. Well, actually I do, because there's two of us and ChatGPT. But yeah. So we've been able to.
Is it weekly?
It's every other week.
How?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are consistent.
Yeah. So every other week we do take. We take a little bit of time off around like the new year, and we take a little bit of time off during the summer. But we've managed to keep up with it.
And people should check it out. It's the YouTube is where I follow the show personally.
Yeah, we've talked to incredible music teachers, so it's been really awesome.
Well, that's the funnest part about doing a podcast. It's just like meeting different people and like learning from them. It's kind of like this is, for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Better as much as it is.
Just a little bit of a selfish project because I love having the conversations with people. So yeah, it's great. And then, the bonus is that anybody else can listen to it too.
Yeah. Awesome. And you do have a music. Wait, you didn't just say this, did you? And I missed it. You have a book on using music technology.
Yep, that one through
an
ebook through F-Flat Books. Yep, the Empowering Ensembles with Technology. Mm-hmm. You can get that through F-Flat. And I mean, it's technology, so everything updates. So there's going to be a couple little things in there that have updated since then. But for the most part, the ideas and concepts should still be really, really relevant.
Yeah. So. Microsoft killed an app in my book like a week before it published. So I could
that happened with that one and Pass the Baton. It was like, oh, thanks. This is great. Yeah.
Yay. Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. This is always fun talking to you.
Absolutely. It seems like things are good. So are you expecting to be in that area for the foreseeable future?
I think so. Yeah. I love it here. So, Eastern North Carolina, it's been great.
Yeah. What is the city?
Greenville. Not to be confused with Greensboro. But
okay. No, I know that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like an hour and a half outside Raleigh.
Okay. Is your commute okay? Is it
my
decent?
commute? Oh, yeah. My commute's 8 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Now, if I want to go outside of Greenville, it's going to be a good bit longer. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And do you feel like are you like doing it? Like how long have you been there?
3 months. Yeah, I moved here.
Are you feeling like they're like doing any stuff in the community to like meet people in that
area? I mean,
the
first thing I did when I got here, of course, was join the local running club. So that's, so that's been good. And, but honestly though, between that and my job and the dissertation, that's kind of all I have time for. And the occasional Netflix movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
What is the do you have like a title of your dissertation at this point?
I don't remember the title. It's I should. Something about oh goodness. Now you can also tell how late it is. Basically the dissertation is exploring why music teachers listen to educational podcasts. So, over the summer I put out a survey, a whole bunch of people responded to it, and I've been just analyzing the data. Writing about it.
This is obviously something that I have a stake in, so I'd be curious to see what your findings are.
Yes. Well, the preliminary findings, the unpublished, basically people mostly listen for information because they want information. They listen because it's easy and flexible. And then there's also a community, like social piece to it as well. So,
what does that look like for? I'm assuming like having a Discord server is not the norm for most music education podcasts.
I didn't go into things like that. So it was mostly like a Likert type questions where people say strongly agree, strongly disagree, that kind of thing. And as far as the social questions, I asked about one of the questions had to do with making new friends. That was not a strongly agree. But, feeling connected to the podcast hosts, that was a big one. Feeling connected to other music teachers, that was another big one. So, it'd be interesting to look at people who have a Discord server or a Facebook group or something else that has more interaction. But that's what we call areas for future research.
That's right. Yeah. Obviously, I'll have to wait and read more once it's published.
Yes. And most likely, because this is me, we'll do a podcast episode about it. So you don't have to read the thing. You can just listen to the podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to Music Ed Tech Talk. I hope you subscribe to the show and review it in your favorite podcast app. You can find me at robbyburns.com. The show is edited by Jay Matejko. Design work is by Ryan Bailey. Everything else is by me. See you next time.